He was a much-loved figure, a true gentleman. 7-year-old grocer Frank was attacked inside his Newcastle in 2007. The murder rocked the city and left a permanent scar on the psyche of many locals.
I was just an everyday bloke. He'd look after the kids from school and
Terry Wiseman knew Frank 40 years.
just a good, looked after the old people, delivered their groceries for them, that when they couldn't walk. And just a good all-round bloke. You know, you do anything for him and he'd do anything for you.
The current owner of Frank's Ham and Beef is Jenny Boswell, who worked with Mr Newbury for 27 years. She was too emotional to speak on camera today, but did show us her memorial to her beloved boss. His photo is also outside. 8 years on, Strikeforce Ryan is investigating a theory it would have been a targeted attack.
It was pretty horrific. Frank's an 87-year-old man. I don't think he would hurt a fly. As I said, he was well known in the community, well respected. He had a business for over 50 years. And for this to just someone to come and take his life, it's beyond me.
With a $100,000 reward still on offer, police hope someone will finally come forward.
Please let them know. Some buggers walking around killed him.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Two councils, two very different opinions. Last night, Lake Macquarie councillors voted 10-2 in favour of a plan to extend its boundary south into the northern end of Wyong.
We have a responsibility as leaders in the community to what we think is best for the community, and it's really the decision that was made last night.
The proposal is the council's solution after being deemed unfit to stand alone by the state's independent regulator. Lake Macquarie argues it'll be cheaper in the long run than amalgamating with Newcastle, but suggests it hasn't gone down well with its southern neighbour.
It was never a recommendation from my part, and from what I believe was never ever going on the table.
When the government assesses these things, they'll be looking at all of those choices and determining what they believe is the best option for the whole region.
Barry Johnson is one of the two Lake councillors who voted against the proposal. He believes it'll only give the state government another reason to force its own preferred amalgamations.
By taking that option, they're saying yes, merge with Newcastle is a possibility.
That's something Newcastle Greens councillors aren't too fond of either, rallying outside City Hall this afternoon ahead of a vote tonight. The Maitland and Dungog councils are also at odds. Councillors in Maitland have voted to merge with Dungog. However, their northern counterparts don't feel the same, voting to stand alone. Ultimately, the mergers will be up to the state, and council won't have long to wait, with a decision likely by the end of the year. Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
Five-star luxury on Newcastle Harbour. This 35-metre Falcon super yacht, not the sort of boat you see every day at the city's marina, dwarfing those around it. The extravagant Agenda, a Princess 95, was second to be unloaded this afternoon. As well as the floating palaces, 26 visiting yachts have tied up, participating in the Down Under rally, making Newcastle Marina full to the brim. Mostly Americans, the yachties met in Noumea and sailed to Newcastle, their home base, for the next 6 months.
I don't think many of us that on other boats too really knew Newcastle that well, but it turns out to be probably one of the neatest places.
Newcastle Marina now firmly on the global yachting community's charts.
We've talked about travelling up and down the East Coast. I think I could just be happy travelling from Newcastle to Sydney and stopping everywhere in between.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News. a few hours off school at one of their favourite places. Tillagary Little Athletics today hosted former Olympian Tamsin Lewis and a very large cheque.
The whole concept of kids being out and being healthy and fit and being social, I think it's brilliant. Little Athletics is a great concept.
It's easy to see why this donation is desperately needed. All the equipment for the 100 budding athletes is housed here, a couple of shipping containers, which are also home to many rodents. Then there's the gear itself. Talented athlete Ethan Morrison is using some of the same equipment his mum Jade used at the club 30 years ago.
We've been off old equipment and the hurdles, they're snapping every time we do it.
That's what prompted the mum of 4 to apply for the cash.
We all still hold records, my sister, brother and I, so we've still got some long-standing records back from 1980, you know, like that. To show records to be that long, it's obviously saying that, you know, the centre's been here for a long time.
The club will now work with the local council to start building a more solid foundation for the centre.
This could be as good as a 20-year plan with, facilities, equipment upgrades, more kids out and about doing local little athletics.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
He was cleared of any fracture post-match, but Leonardo didn't take part in training this morning. The club is withholding any further information regarding his injury status, but it's expected he will be given every chance to take part in Sunday's clash with Adelaide.
I don't know if anyone's ruled him out as yet, and it's still early in the week. I think that's the beauty of a long week, that you can probably give everyone the opportunity until later in the week to prove their fitness.
Ben Kantarovski is back training, albeit on his own. He's expected to be available for selection after missing last week with a calf complaint. Ryan Kiddo is being given until late next week to prove he deserves to remain with the Jets for the rest of the year.
Spent a bit of time with him in Adelaide. Good young boy with a lot of energy and an eye for goal. So good to see him, and training today was good. It was a positive note.
Scott Miller was on a mission this morning. He's demanding more from his players, in particular, import Milos Trifunovic.
If we can't take anything out of those games, we're not going to be better in the future. So as all of us individually, we all needed to step up to the mark and as a team. So yeah, as I said, we reviewed it, moved forward, and come Adelaide on Sunday. Hopefully we can get the result.
For die-hard petrol heads like Andrew Wright and his father, speedway racing means everything.
The sheer adrenaline, the speed, the excitement running wheel to wheel, getting up around the wall when it's pretty fast and slide jobbing with people, they're the most exciting form of motorsport, getting around.
A two-man team, the pair travels around Australia chasing sprint car series events.
That's the hardest part, but I wouldn't change it. Me and my dad, we've had a great time doing this, and we hope to have a great time for a lot longer. We travel around Australia a bit with these cars, and you always run into someone from Muswellbrook or Singleton or Newcastle. They always come up and have a chat, and that's another great part of the sport.
While they've broken into the top 5 more than once, it's more a labour of love for this project manager from Muswellbrook. Newcastle Speedway closed back in 2002. Wright hasn't given up hope of it making a comeback.
It really damaged Speedway in New South Wales and Australia. They're all still trying to get another one, but Newcastle Speedway was a brilliant facility, well before its time. You know, it's been closed for quite a number of years now, and when it first started, it had the corporate facilities. The spectators had a great area, it had the clubhouse.
It's the middle of the afternoon and CCTV cameras capture the moment a masked man storms into the Thornton news agency. Wielding a knife, he lunges towards the owner, Wayne Hackett.
But I knew what I was going to do straight away. I picked the bat up quick and was ready for him, put it that way.
But the hooded bandit winds up empty-handed. Joined by a customer, Mr Hackett chases after the man, who escapes in a ute.
That time of the day, unbelievable, 4 o'clock. Normally things like that happen early in the morning, which we're busier actually in the morning than in late afternoon. But I mean, it's a bit disturbing when they're wandering around with knives and kids coming home from school.
Incredibly, it's the third time the shop has been targeted in 12 months. The first 2 times, the 57-year-old was confronted by men brandishing machetes.
I carry my baseball bat with me, because who do you know is lurking around the corner every morning? So, you know, I've got to be on the guard, and to be truthful, I'm over it.
Yesterday's attack has left Mr Hackett questioning his future here in Thornton. After 20 years, he's even considering shutting up shop.
I get up early every day just trying to survive, you know, pay your bills, pay the tax man, which is difficult in these times, and then you get scumbags like that, who probably we're paying for, you know, just wants more of my cash, and it really frustrates me. Get a job, for God's sake, you know, go and get a life.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Making a stand in support of standing alone. With the deadline looming, Newcastle Council last night formalised its response to the state's local government reforms. Its first choice to go it alone, but if forced to merge, Newcastle believes Port Stephens is the best option.
Consolidating the port lands, the Hunter Estuary, the airport, defence, industrial hubs, health, and the university and education all in one council would be our preferred solution.
The council's pick hasn't been well received.
You've only got to look at how they put their rates up. You've only got to look at the railway line. You've only got to look at the basket case of how they dealt with the trees many years ago. Newcastle can make their own arrangements. They can go with Lake Macquarie, but I can tell you they're not coming to Port Stephens.
Newcastle councillor Brad Luke believes last night's decision will only force the state's hand and make a merger between Newcastle and Lake Macquarie inevitable.
Newcastle Council and Lake Macquarie Council have just given the middle finger to the state government and effectively have said, well, we dare you.
Councils who agree to amalgamate will have access to $20 million in state government funding. Newcastle Council believes it should still have access to that money, even though it's been unable to find a willing merger partner. The risk now, a forced amalgamation minus any government assistance. Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
Tremendous boost to our economy. The jobs that are created in the building of the houses and the infrastructure that's put back to the community is fantastic for the Cessnock local government area.
These are just some of the 40,000 sailors who come into Newcastle Harbour every year, and waiting for them when they disembark, the mission to seafarers.
We try to be a home away from home, so we free transport and free internet and free food and free clothing, anything that we can do to make them feel at peace with themselves.
The men who spend as long as 15 months at sea can have no way of calling home. Here they can do just that.
We've been at sea for, say, 15 days from Japan to Australia. We don't know what's happening in 15 days.
The charity also serves free food, up to 100 meals a week.
The kitchen's old, it needs a revamp, it needs to come up to the standards that we all expect.
Thankfully, Rotary has got on board, today launching its 2016 Light Up Newcastle Lantern Walk, which will raise money for both the seafarers and the Maritime Centre.
We'll have 2 walks, one from Wickham and one from Nobbies, that all meet here on the waterfront.
The event takes place on February 13. Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
Scott Miller was less than impressed with the Jets' performance against the Mariners. He's communicated his discontent to his players, and there's no guarantee he'll stick with the same side this weekend.
It's all pretty much what every player's hearing. No one will get singled out, get told anything different. It's just everyone's got the same goal, the club's got the same goal, and that's just to get this club back where it should be.
Adelaide is anchored to the bottom of the ladder. It's the only A-League club yet to record a win this season.
Yeah, very frustrating. I think there's no hiding the fact that boys are frustrated, and I think you can see it, and it's just part and parcel of it. That frustration's born out of us wanting to do well.
While they've managed to score goals, the Reds have conceded plenty too.
They're not defending as well as they have in the last couple of years, but it doesn't take much to fix. Whether it's little lapses of concentration or like just little 50-50s here and there.
As a team, we've not been defending well enough, and I think those little mistakes and just not being tight enough, and those little 50-50s at the moment we keep losing, and they keep costing us goals.
Cameron Watson spent 4 years in Adelaide. He witnessed the 7-0 thumping of the Jets at Hindmarsh last season. It hasn't been mentioned, and it won't be used for motivation.
I think it's relevant, to be fair. I think a lot of new players have come in. As you said, there's not a lot to survive from that game. And even if there were, everything else has changed. Coaching staff changed, clubs changed, mentalities changed.
High in the Barrington tops the unique sound of a Tasmanian devil. But what was once a species crying for help is now something to crow about.
Yeah, look, a significant time for us here at Devil Ark, something that we're very, very proud of.
I think what this means to all of us is that there's hope, for the Tasmanian devil.
Hope that first lies with these 22 devils. Their time has finally come to go to their homeland.
Back to Tasmania Day, back to home. After only 4 short years of operation, we've managed to reach the point where the animals bred here are now being returned to the wild, which is the outcome that we always aim for.
For a species on the brink of extinction, it is an historic occasion and the ultimate aim of an ambitious breeding program launched in the Hunter Valley in 2011. The Devil Ark, set up far away from the deadly facial tumour disease running rampant in their homeland, has created an insurance population that has thrived.
There's less than 10% left in the wild. Obviously 90% have been decimated by devil facial tumour disease.
But in their new home in Tassie, these devils will be safe.
The area that they're going to be released at is the Forestier Peninsula. That area has been completely cleared of devil facial tumour disease. It's been fenced off.
Of the 150 devils here, the 22 were selected based on their genes and wild characteristics. Their final ark feed as natural as it gets, but also a reminder of how vulnerable the species is to the facial tumour disease.
If one of them's got symptoms, simply touches another one, nips another one, then 100% that animal is going to get the disease.
Getting the devils ready for this day is something handlers here have been waiting years for.
He looks about as good as we'd want a devil to be heading back into the wild.
No chances were taken as the mammals were prepared for relocation. As well as a brush down, they were also given an antiseptic spray.
It's everything done, say, into the trap for Tassie.
Before being loaded and sent on their way to the airport. As significant as the relocation is, the hard work here at Devil Ark is far from over. There's already been 37 joeys born here this year, including these 2 8-month-olds, which will hopefully follow in the footsteps of their relatives and be released back into the Tasmanian wilderness. For these ones before them, though, handlers made sure the journey south was a safe one, carefully loaded onto their own private plane. The final journey for these 22 Tasmanian devils is now just a 5-hour flight down to Tasmania. When they arrive, they'll join 18 other devils from across Australia and then be driven to their new home in the Forestier Peninsula, before flying to an exciting future.
What we're hoping for is when they get released in 4 different release sites on this peninsula, that by April we'll be able to check their pouches and see the future generation there.
So that our future generations can still admire these remarkable native animals. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Newcastle's old and new side by side. That's the vision for the Park Apartments to be built opposite the soon-to-be disused courthouse.
There'll be 3 separate towers and it's all in very modest height, really, I guess, appealing to the dent.
About to go on sale, the 27 2- and 3-bedroom apartments will be wrapped around the old Newcastle East Public School, while that building will be preserved and transformed into mixed residential and commercial space.
The more that we can preserve and build some sympathetic buildings around that really enhance what's here, I think is great for the area.
Also in the East End, Century Venues has got in before the auction and purchased the historic Victoria Theatre for well under the $1.1 million the property went for 11 years ago. The previous owner concedes the theatre could have fetched more had it gone to auction today, but decided Century Venues' reputation for restoration works made it the ideal owner. The new owners are renowned for breathing new life into Sydney's Enmore Theatre.
We took that on when it was full of pigeons and dilapidated.
A community group is also pleased the theatre will be restored.
It'd be nice to see all the hidden gems behind all the rubbish.
Work will begin early next year. Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
The crime rate is 36.9% increase since the rail line has come, so small businesses are worried.
That brings a lot of economics and value to the farmers through lower cost. You only need one set of locomotives, one set of drivers. You can load a lot of grain on that train.
Mother Nature put on a picture-perfect beach day, but fun in the sun can have nasty consequences. The hunter has one of the highest rates of melanoma in the country, and experts say it's those first impressionable 15 years of life when the most irreversible damage is done. New statistics from the Cancer Council have revealed 38% of young Australians aged between 12 and 17 still like to get a suntan, while the Cancer Institute of New South Wales predicts that next year in the Hunter New England Health District, more than 800 people will be diagnosed with skin cancer, with 100 deaths expected. And it's not only lives at risk. Both basal and squamous cell carcinomas are the most common forms of the disease, and while they're not as likely to cause death, they leave behind a nasty scar, something lifeguard Ian Gordon knows all too well. He's been patrolling beaches for 26 years.
I've had 6 skin cancers removed, surgically cut out, so it's really important people do remember to reapply sunscreen regularly and after swimming.
They all come under the same protection regime. You need to protect yourself from them. And remember, it's not just at the beach. It's while you're driving in the car, it's while you might be out with your friends shopping, all those incidental places that we're exposed to the sun.
With a record high temperature for November expected tomorrow, we're all being urged to take the sun safety warning seriously. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Dino Sesta co-founded the Italian Film Festival with Nick Moretti 6 years ago. His death at the age of 49 comes on the eve of the 2015 event.
There is no way that he would have wanted us to do anything other than continue with the festival and continue with the festival into the future. It's very, very sad that he passed away yesterday. It'll be a very difficult weekend, but we'll push through.
Dino documented his battle with motor neurone disease in a series of poignant blogs, and the festival will honour his memory as well as raise money for research.
It's a cruel disease. It's one that we don't know enough about. We don't know how we get it. We don't know how to cure it. There's a lot of work to be done.
To date, festival fundraising is near $50,000, and with a strong program this year, Nick Moretti is counting on community support. It'll kick off tomorrow night with a favourite from Cannes, My Mother.
We've got comedy, drama, with a sprinkling of romance, as always. These Italian movies, you can't have Italian movies without romance.
And who better to bring that to the screen than Sophia Loren? The classic Marriage Italian style will conclude the festival on Sunday.
Nathan Ross, congratulations on what was, I suppose, a breakthrough for yourself, and you've obviously done well enough to earn yourself an upgrade. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I guess at the end of last year, playing the last 6 games was a pretty good achievement. It's a goal that I've always wanted to reach, playing in the NRL. And to finish off the year, playing 6 consecutive games is good, but at the end of the day, it's all fish and chip paper now, and I've got to build on from last season and come back a bigger, better, stronger player this year.
The upgrade to your contract means you no longer have to work. Just tell us what you're working as, and I suppose how happy you are to, I suppose, put that behind you now.
Yeah, well, I was working for a good company called Downer out at Hexham as a safety advisor. It was long days and long nights, especially with the little one at home. But now to train full time, it's obviously reaching what I've always strived for.
You've got a new coach. What's been the message to you from Brownie?
Brownie just wants me to play with my confidence and my energy that I bring to the team. Training at a few different positions at the moment, centre, fullback and wing. So it's good that I can fit into all 3 of those positions and hopefully find a place in one of them.
Has he given you a general idea on where you might fit into this side?
Not at this point in time. Just showing my wares in all positions and showing my versatility. So I feel comfortable in all 3.
Playing first grade rugby league was a huge goal of yours last year. You finally achieved it. What are the goals for next season?
Start round 1 and I want to repay this club and this town and all my family and everyone who's ever supported me with some good performances and make myself a regular in the NRL.
Newcastle Entertainment Centre is fast being transformed into a bull riding battleground. But for Gresford's Lachlan Richardson, this is home soil.
It's the best. You wish you could do that all year to make it a lot funner, but yeah, just to have your family and a lot of friends that you've grown up around.
A rare opportunity, and one the 23-year-old bull rider will be taking full advantage of on Saturday at the Brendan Clark Invitational. He's out to replicate his 2012 winning ride.
It stays waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to catch a plane and yeah, just to have a sleep in and then, yeah, come down here all relaxed and fresh.
What's great about Newcastle is that we have got some of the best bull riders in the world in the Hunter Valley, so and around the area, so along with some of the best bulls.
But they'll be up against the best from across the globe, namely a 3-time world champion.
I feel good. It's rest all week wait for this event.
And the crowd's being guaranteed plenty of excitement as well, for if the event's 7-year history has proven anything, it's these bucking beasts that will have the final say. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Over the past 12 months, work on preparing Newcastle Airport for the future has taken off. A new terminal, hotel and an initiative with Singapore Airlines opening the door to more opportunities. Today, stakeholders were briefed on what challenges lie ahead, including sealing international flights.
We also are talking to Singapore about doing a hubbing strategy again, which actually means getting people from Newcastle used to flying internationally out of our airport. It might be through another airport, and in the near future, we hope, it'll actually be international from our airport, but I'll have to keep you posted on that.
Last month, passenger numbers soared, hitting a record high for the year. Half of those visitors were in town for business. It's hoped collaboration between the airport and local tourism bodies will help attract more recreational guests.
We don't want to be a hidden gem. We want to be a gem that everyone knows about, so everyone wants to come to see us.
Carly Wheeland from Airbiz, a leading aviation consulting firm, says for a regional airport, Newcastle is adapting well to changing demand.
A lot of the thinking behind the management team is really about, making sure that that customer experience is nurtured for the future and future-proofing the airport facility so that the local passengers here feel like they've got a world-class facility.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
In their own words, the Reclaim Australia group is a patriotic organisation defending the Australian way of life. This weekend, the group's attention will be focused on plans to build a mosque on this piece of land at Buchanan.
You can see that there is a huge support for the anti-mosque campaign, so we're just facilitating that.
A DA for the plan is yet to be lodged by the Newcastle Muslim Association, but the current proposal includes the construction of a mosque and small funeral home. They say there'll be no calls to prayer and that only on Fridays will around 200 people be on site between midday and 3 p.m. The community has raised concerns about increased traffic and lack of parking, but Philippa Parsons from Rally Against Racism says the community and mosque can coexist.
We are there to provide the alternative voice. We are there to say that we stand for unity, we stand for peace, and we stand for cohesive societies.
The rallies kick off in Cessnock's Main Street at 11.
Christmas holidays, it'll be like Pitt Street down here, and on weekends, especially it's warmer weather, we get a lot of boats up and down here.
There's no need to feel ashamed if you are struggling. Parenting does bring great joy, but it also can be very overwhelming at times, and particularly for new parents who are really trying to adjust to the pressures that a new baby certainly does bring.
Be hot today? Yeah?
There's plenty of drinks. Cordial drinks.
We're also looking to a hot summer period coming forward. It's the perfect opportunity for people to prepare their property
With the mercury already over 30 degrees by 11 this morning, water and shade were at a premium. Today an ice bath was a privilege, not a chore.
This is the hottest I've experienced, and I think a few people are struggling, to be honest with you, with the heat.
Leonardo didn't feel the heat today, but will need to prove his fitness tomorrow morning.
The day before a game, that's my minimum expectation from a player. They need to do that at least to prove not only to me but their teammates, because I think that makes sense. If someone participates in -1, it shows a commitment and the readiness to play. We just need to look after Leonardo with his history as well. We need to look after him at this point, and the training load throughout the week, he doesn't necessarily need that extra load.
Milos Trifunovic is aware he needs to lift his game. Milos fight harder for possession in the front third to ease pressure on his teammates.
Milos, intensity. Now, I spoke to him prior to doing press anyway last week, so he was well aware of my comments. For me, I want that fight and determination in and out of possession late in the game, especially when we're winning, because I think that platform helps the team support.
The Jets women will play the curtain raiser, which will be televised. It's a rare occurrence, but it has the girls excited. They're enjoying a solid start to the season.
Adelaide historically have been a good game for us. Like we've always done quite well against them, but this year they're, batting above their weight.